Subtotals are used to aggregate data. You can use sum, average, count, and so forth in order to aggregate your data. Subtotals cannot be used in data tables. You do have a total row function you can use in data tables instead. And in your data, you do need your column headings at the top of the columns, as well as making sure that there are no blank rows or columns in your data. So in this example, we have some market data for houses, and we have the city selling agent or real estate agent, what we were asking for the house, and what we actually sold the house for. So for this one, you can see that we sold it for less than we were asking. So the percent of that asking price is going to be less than 100%. Whereas down here, you can see we sold it for the same price, so it's 100% of the asking price. Then we have the number of days on market, which is how long the house was on the market listed for sale. And we have those listed for each house. So what we want to do is subtotal or average for each city the selling price, asking price, percent of asking price, and days on the market. So we want to subtotal those by the city so that we can see for each city what those averages would be. So what we have to do first, this is important in subtotals, you have to sort the data according to how you want to subtotal the data. So for example, we want to subtotal the data based on the city. So you can see the cities are not listed together. So we want all of the Charlotte houses together, all of the Greensboro houses together, and so forth. So it can easily insert those subtotals. So you can highlight all of the data or click inside of the data, and we'll go to the Data tab and Sort. And we're going to use the custom sort. So if it's not popping up for me, but you would use the custom sort. In this case, we want to sort by city. And let's go ahead and add a second level so that within each city, we can see the selling agent and the prices and the houses that each selling agent is responsible for. So we're going to add that level and then go to the selling agent. So that now you can see the data is sorted by the city, and within each city, the selling agent. So you can see all of the ones for each person are listed together within each city. One important thing to note here is that the data needs to be sorted with the city and selling agent, and it should automatically do that for you, but just double check to make sure that all of the data was sorted together. So let's go in and subtotal these now. We want to subtotal by the city. So under the Data tab, there's Subtotal. And we're going to say at each change in the city, we are going to average the asking price, selling price, percent of asking price, and the days on the market. So every time the city changes, we're going to average those fields. So what Excel will do is it's going to go down to the last one in Charlotte and say, oh, it's changing to Greensboro. So it will insert that subtotal line here for Charlotte. And it will do the same thing once it gets to Greensboro and sees that this changes. It will insert the subtotal for Greensboro. Note that you can replace the current subtotals, which we don't have any, so it doesn't matter now. You can actually insert a page break between the groups, or in this case, the cities, and you can tell it to summarize below the data or not. Notice here you can also remove all subtotals if you do not need them. When I submit that, it's going to show you for each city the averages, and notice that it uses the term average here because that's the function that it used. And it's going to average each of these. You might want to bold that line. Now, if I wanted to go in and add a subtotal for the selling agent, I can do that. I'm going to go back into Subtotal, and I'm going to say at each change in selling agent, and I'm going to still average these particular fields. Now, notice that you can't average and sum at the same time. You would have to do separate subtotal functions for that. So I'm going to average all of these fields. I'm not going to replace the current subtotals that are here. I want to keep the city subtotals, so I'll click on OK. Now you can see that it has for each selling agent the average as well as for the city. And you want to do those kind of nested subtotals by the one that's on the outside first, which is city, and then go inside to the selling agent. So start on the one that's outside. Now, you can also collapse the data so that you can see based on the level of detail. So level 4 is all of the detail. If you just wanted to see the averages for each, you can go to level 3, and it shows the selling agent and the city. Level 2 shows just the city, and the first one shows just the grand average for everything. So you can collapse it and expand it based on what data, what level of detail that you would like to use. And really quickly, if you do not sort the data before you subtotal, I'm going to go to this sheet where the city is not sorted. And if I go in and tell it to change after each city, and I'm going to average these. If you do not sort the data first by city, you can see that as it changes every time for the city, that it's adding the subtotal line. So that's why you need to sort it first before you insert the subtotals.